fucking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round 3 recap for this week's Masters. Joining me to break it all down, Greg DuCharme is here. Hello, Greg.
Rick, how was it out there today, first of all?
Awesome. Yeah, it was sick. I mean, the final 2.5 hours were unbelievable, very compelling. The golf course was just in great shape. We got a little bit of everything. It was great.
The golf course is giving players a hard time, especially on that second 9. We've seen it give players a hard time all week long. And this afternoon, it just got so tough, and it was giving players fits. There was carnage out there. And it set up a great leaderboard. Very compelling. I can't wait to see what tomorrow brings.
Very, very compelling. We will be joined by Kyle Porter shortly, is what I was trying to say. He had some writing responsibilities. The hope is he's about 10 minutes behind me leaving Augusta National. So I hope that he's about 10 minutes into the show. But I didn't want to keep Fat Potato waiting, Greg. So I figured we can get going out of the gate here, and we'll bring him in here as soon as he gets it.
All right, I like it. Well, looking forward to hearing Kyle's thoughts, because this is some really good stuff. But hey, there's some great early action as well to get into. I love the ability to watch all the shots at these tournaments. You know, you can really go in and study the rounds and get a complete idea of who's playing the best golf.
Let's talk about the golf course first. 2.3 strokes over par. So for those keeping track at home, that is basically right in the middle of round 1 and round 2. Round 1 was 1.5 strokes over par. Round 2 was 3 strokes over par. So we're at 2.3. So kind of right in that middle ground. And Greg, it was not necessarily the wind. I mean, there was some breeze out there, but nothing like we saw yesterday. This place is crisping up. Some of the hole locations were pretty devious and hard to access. And you could see that taking its toll on guys, especially on the second 9, which played nearly 1.5 strokes more difficult.
You know, the wind, not as severe as it was yesterday, but at the same time, the wind yesterday created the difficulty today, because it allowed this golf course to firm up to levels that we saw today. And even if it wasn't just because of firmness, the speeds of the greens were incredible. And we know that the greens at the Masters tournament are always faster than we typically see on the PGA Tour, but the greens at round 3 were faster than we typically see even at the Masters. They were hauling, and it was giving great putters fits. You know, it was giving everybody such a hard time. So you had to be really precise. You had to get your golf ball into the proper sections of the greens. And when you didn't, you had your work cut out for you.
I'd like to give a hat tip to the round of the day. There were only 2 rounds in the 60s. We'll get to the later one later. Let's get to the early one. This was by Chris Kirk, Greg. A 4 under 68. That was the high water mark, or I guess in golf, maybe it's the low water mark. A 4 under 68 moves him to +1 for the tournament. He is still outside the top, let's see here, 15, I believe. Is that?
He's T16.
T16, thank you very much. Only one blemish on the card. It was a bogey on number 16. Otherwise, Chris Kirk looked very, very good around Augusta National.
Yeah, and took care of 3 of the 4 par 5s. On the first 9, he made birdie at number 2, birdie at number 8, and was obviously bogey free. Hit a really nice shot into 12, made a nice 2 there. And then took care of 15 and 18, which is just an awesome birdie. You don't see many of those at 18. So that was great. But Chris Kirk kept the ball in front of him today. He put the ball in the fairway. He hit 13 of 18 greens, which was very good for the day. And that comes from positioning it off the tee, right? He was in the fairway 13 of 14 times. So really good stuff out of Chris Kirk. Really simple. And if you want to go shoot under par at Augusta National, his round today was kind of the blueprint for that.
Yeah, it certainly was. Nobody was able to follow the blueprint to a T because, as mentioned, that was the best round of the day. Let's talk about the Bash Bros. I don't know why, but that's Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele for this scenario. Patrick Cantlay was bogey-free for 17 holes until he made a 5 on number 18, but he offsets that with 3 birdies, 2 under par, 70. And Greg, what I think is interesting is we entered 2024 saying, okay, who has to take major championship steps forward? Max Homa would have been on the short list. Patrick Cantlay would have been on the short list. Xander Schauffele, maybe Victor Hovland would have been on the short list. This is not going to end in a Patrick Cantlay Masters victory, but it could very well be another yellow square on Wikipedia, which is a top 10.
Yes, and if he keeps playing the way he did today, it will be a top 10. He just simply avoided bogeys today. And early in the week, he's made too many bogeys, and that's come from iron play that isn't quite up to snuff with all the other players that are up near the top of this leaderboard. He was 38th in greens of regulation today. He only hit 10, but he did hit some high quality iron shots when he put the ball in the fairway. When his proximity from the fairway was 3rd today, so he has the ability to knock it close. It's just how often can he do it? And the other thing today is his scrambling was phenomenal. He was perfect in scrambling, 9 for 9 getting up and down, which is 8 for 8. It was 9 for 9, but that includes a par 5 and one of the par 5s. So it was all in all really good performance from Patrick Cantlay. But we just haven't seen him get himself in the mix in a major early enough. Right? This is kind of like what we've seen with his last 4 major performances, where he gets himself inside that top 15, and it's respectable, but it's never really contention. The pressure moments are happening too early in the tournament for him, and the next step is to get those moments to be on Sunday when he actually has a chance to win.
His partner in crime, Xander Schauffele, fired a 72 on Thursday. He followed it up with a 72 on Friday. That was a very good 72. And then shot a 2 under 70 on Saturday. He is doing, Greg, exactly what Xander Schauffele does. He is currently in a tie for 6th. He has never once contended for this championship. He probably will not contend for an actual win, but this is going to be stat padding, wallet padding, all the above padding. And I suppose that if he gets a couple of minor miracles and maybe a major miracle, he could win this thing. Yeah,
this is tough because his play has been so good, and he just hasn't quite made enough birdies to get himself in the mix. But he's done a very good job of eliminating mistakes. And if you look at how this tournament is played out, Rick, the way that you would expect the recipe for success to be avoid mistakes. Yet for Xander Schauffele, he's only made 4 bogeys on the week as a whole. He made 2 in round 1, he made 2 in round 2, and none today. So he's only made four bogeys all week, but at the same time, only 6 birdies. So it's unbelievable that he's in tied 6th with 6 birdies. But I love the ability to avoid those mistakes, limit the damage, if you will. I think that's a really good sign for Xander Schauffele. Yeah. And you're a couple putts away from being in the final group. That's ultimately what this comes down to. So this is a really solid performance from Xander on a really challenging week.
Since the 5th hole on Thursday, so round 1, hole number 5, he's made 2 bogeys since then. Now, the scoring averages have been well over par all 3 days, and he has made 2 bogeys since the 5th hole on Thursday.
Yeah, that's impressive. How do you look at that? Are you looking at this week, if he finishes somewhere around tied 6th or, inside the top 10 again, or are you looking at this week as a positive, or do you think there's something missing from Xander's game?
Nah, I will I'll ham it up and act like something's missing, but this is a great result. It's a great week. What else can I ask from the guy?
Right. The difference in he and Patrick Cantlay, Patrick Cantlay's hold out a couple of, right? He's got 2 eagles that are not on par 5s. So he's holed out a couple of shots that it almost makes it feel a little lucky, like he's fortunate to do it. Xander, it feels like he's unlucky because he's hit so many great shots. He's utilized a really impressive strategy, and I think he's executed on it really well.
He has indeed. Here's what we are going to do. We are going to focus on the big 6, the 6 that really made Saturday a phenomenal Saturday. We are going to add Kyle Porter to this conversation, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
There are some things in life that you can't quite explain.
An extraordinary story.
Maybe it sounds flawless, looks effortless, or makes you feel like a part of history.
The first ever goal for BFC.
And when all of those phenomenons come together, it's perfect. Pitch perfect.
And we're back. That right there, Kyle Porter, KP, how you feeling on Saturday night?
I felt great. I apologize for my audio. My mic's not working, so I'm through the AirPods tonight. But we had ourselves a day at Augusta National, Rick. I was joking on HQ earlier that you got baptized into your first moving day. It was, I thought it lacked juice early, and then it got crazy late, and I thought it was awesome. I think Thursday was kind of tough. It was a weird entry point. Friday was crazy and awesome for different reasons. And then Saturday, as soon as Scottie Eagles 13, it was kind of like, okay, this is pretty sweet. This is really good. And now we've got a real major championship battle going into Sunday.
There were 6 names that really made that final 2 hours, the second 9, very, very special. Let's go through them, and I'll try to find ways to weave throughout this. Nicolai Hojgaard was probably the name that we least expected of the 6 that we are going to be talking about. But Greg, he was the one that was the solo leader after the 10th hole, because that is when he made his 3rd consecutive birdie. Scottie Scheffler made a fairly ugly double. And Nicolai Hojgaard looked up at one of the manual leaderboards and saw his name alone at the top.
Yeah, and he held a really long putt there. And you guys wouldn't have seen this, but on the CBS broadcast, they had just showed Ben Crenshaw making a putt from basically the same place Scottie Scheffler was putting from. And I can't get the year exactly right, maybe 1985. So forgive me, I don't remember what year it was exactly, but right after they show that, Scottie misses and then narrowly, and then Hojgaard holds it. And all of a sudden, he's the solo leader. And he goes on to the remainder of that back 9, the last 8 holes in that back 9. He only hits 1 green in regulation at 17. He just made bogey after bogey after bogey. It was 5 in a row immediately after he gets the lead. And part of that's condition, but part of that's also leaderboard gravity.
Here's that 8-hole stretch, KP. Birdie, 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 bogey, 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 bogey. Things were spinning.
He was like did you see the Bryson photo from Monday where he was wearing the eclipse glasses and staring at the sun? That was Nicolai Hojgaard for this back 9. He stared at the sun, and I think it sucks for him, right? But I think it's illustrative of what this tournament is, Greg, right? Like, it's so. Max said this in his presser today. He said, "I got done working out, and the nerves, the gravity, not the leaderboard gravity, but the gravity of the situation hit me." And I think it might have been a little longer for Nicolai Hojgaard, but it hit him at some point. Like, I'm leading the Masters with 26 holes to go, and what we saw happen is not crazy. It's not unusual. It's the gravity of the moment, and he's a really good player who I think will win a lot over the course of his career. I thought it said more about the Masters itself than it did about Nicolai Hojgaard.
Well, hopefully he has gotten that out of his system, because there is a lot of golf to be played and he is in a tie for 6th and he has got some still life-changing opportunities ahead of him. So hopefully he has gotten that all out of the way. I am surprised to say Bryson DeChambeau's name next here, KP. He is in solo 5th. So what I love about this leaderboard is we've got a guy at 7 under by himself, a guy at 6 under by himself, a guy at 5 under by himself, a guy at 4 under by himself, a guy at at 3 under by himself. So the top 5 are all separated by 1 shot and are 1 guy in each position. Bryson DeChambeau is in solo 5th, and this was a Bryson day. It started off where his distance control wasn't particularly great. He was able to birdie 8, but he bogeyed 9. He birdied 10, back-to-back bogeys on 11 and 12, a birdie on 14, and then the big moment, double on 15, bogey on 16, and then another big moment where he holds out from 77 yards for birdie on 18. I mean, this was the full gamut of Bryson content.
Well, Greg, if you would have told Bryson on before the round, hey, you're gonna make a 3 at 10, 14, and 18, which I think was either the hardest or second hardest hole of the entire day, and shoot 38, he would have been like, I don't understand the math there, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I mean, 14's, I don't know what he was playing today, but 18's tough. 10 is, I think 10 is hard. He really botched the par 5s on the second night, obviously. I think he 3-putted 13. And then, I think the thing that concerns me, and this has always been true about him at Augusta, the thing that I worry about with him on Sunday is those kind of tweener shots that he had, like the one he had on 15, where it's not a pitch, but it's not really a full shot. It's kind of this like feely, creative, weird little shot that Scottie's really good at, and it's a very pro thing to be good at those types of shots. The 3, like, I'm terrible at them, and Bryson he seems to struggle with them, and I don't know if that's a one length iron thing. I don't know if it's he doesn't practice it. I don't know what it is, but they just seem to give him fits, and that worries me about him chasing on Sunday.
Rick, the thing that worries me with him is a little bit different. And it's just simply the touch on the greens. Just surprising, because he's been a good putter. But you look at
was horrible.
16's horrible, right? But I mean, look at the 9. He's just off the green and he putts, and it goes way, way too far past the hole. He 3-putts that. 11, he hit the green on 11, barely, just almost hit it in the water. And then 3-putts that, hit it way too far by. 12 was just off the green. He putted way too far by. I mean, like 6-7 feet by. And then 13 was another 3-putt. 16, another 3-putt. So those kind of things. And like he said in his post round, I almost 3-putted 17 too. So that's the big concern for me. The thing about the tweener shots, I understand where you're coming from, and I don't necessarily disagree. But when you hit your 8-iron 200 yards the way Bryson does, you have a lot of in-between clubs. Like, most of your round is tweener shots. And I don't know if it's a strength of his. I wouldn't say that like it is for Scheffler. But I think he plays a lot more tweener shots than you think, simply because of how far he hits every club.
They don't look like
he should be able to handle that. Yeah, no, it's a true point. And maybe he knows how to open the face or make some kind of adjustment to change the distance. But he has to be changing the distance, because he's going to have 20-yard gaps between his clubs.
Yeah, and
most people have 10.
For sure. To be fair, he was in that spot on 15 was really weird. You don't see guys down there very often, where he was after his second shot. And I don't know what the lie was. I wasn't down there, but it was just kind of a squirrely little weird shot that, could have cost him a chance at the Masters.
Couple observations on Bryson from the grounds. KP, who was the last person we saw on the putting green as we were leaving the golf course?
Oh, he was grinding his baseball.
Yeah.
Just had a skew, just trying to figure out the speeds. He was the only one up there.
Only one up there. Also,
he did real quick. He mentioned this too in his post round interview. Remember, there used to always be no green books at Augusta National. There were everywhere else, but there's also he can't use his foresight on the putting green, which I didn't know. So I find that to be interesting. I don't know. I wouldn't say that he was making excuses. He said, I have to learn how to adjust, but it's clearly something different for him.
So he can't use his device, his quad, which he uses to putt with, on the greens there either.
Right.
I did not know that. That's very
I didn't either. I learned it about 30 minutes ago.
Listen, just be an athlete. Just be athletic.
It's the opposite of what he's trying to do. He's trying to remove like all feel and creativity. He's trying to like be a robot is what he's trying to do.
It's kind of the opposite of Scheffler too, right? Like Scheffler Sean Martin had this great thread about how his range sessions are not, devices and computers and lasers and drones and all this just stuff. It's just him feeling it out and digging it out of the dirt. And I don't know. I mean, we can talk forever about what methodology is better, but I know which one I trust more come Sunday.
Very pro Scottie crowd to the point where when they posted his Bryson's bogey on 16, when they posted that on the main scoreboard at 18 green, it got cheers, which is pretty tough scene.
Surprising to a degree. You typically don't see that at Augusta National, no matter what.
Exactly. It's usually all very, very positive. The other thing, and I told Kyle this, Greg, there's a lot of misinformation that can float around Augusta National because it's very hard to know what the scores are in real time. So I was bouncing around between the final three groups, and I was on the side of 17 green, but I was blocked out by the grandstand, so I could not see the scoreboard. And they posted something, and the guy a couple rows over starts telling everybody, Scheffler doubled 15. Scheffler doubled 15. And I'm like, holy crap. Well, now I'm like, and then some time goes by and I watch Scheffler bogey 17. And I'm like, he's at like 3 under, 2 under. He's out of it. It's over.
You haven't seen a scoreboard yet.
I still haven't seen a scoreboard. I'm still blocked out. I'm like, he's out of it. I sulk my way up 18, the hill at 18. I sulk all the way up there. I turn around. And it was Bryson who made double on 15. Scheffler's in the lead. I'm like, what is going on out here? You can't be spreading this information and getting the name wrong.
You got a 3-shot swing just in your head.
Yeah, it was very emotional for me out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Underrated aspect of being a patron at the Masters.
Yeah, you guys have probably talked about this the last 2 days, but just the feeling of being out there, Rick. What has it been like compared to what you thought it would be? Especially today.
Yeah, so it's way more crowded than I could have imagined. It is.
I've got a take on that.
Okay. It is.
No,
also,
I can't put it out there.
But. We'll get Josh to change it to first cut after dark, and then you can say whatever you want. It is really different, especially those final three groups today, and like something's happening around the golf course, but you don't necessarily know what it is, and the players don't necessarily know what it is. They just know something is going on either ahead of them or behind them, and that's really cool. And also, I've noticed that because no one has their phone out all the time, they're talking a lot more, and people are dummies, and they say the most wild things about all these guys.
My gosh.
There's so much time to fill because you're not just staring at your phone or getting information or anything like that. So it's actually quite difficult to follow who's winning and what's going on when you're on the golf course.
Well, it is, which is, I think, a little bit of the allure and fun of it is not confusion, but just like anticipation for putting the numbers up, putting the scores up, all that stuff. I told Rick this story, Greg. I was on 8 today, or 7, watching Scheffler or I was watching Cam Davis and Morikawa, then Scheffler and Hojgaard came through. And this guy in front of me said, "Oh, am I reading this right? Did Cam Young just make a hole-in-one on number 9? Well, first of all, you'd have to hit a 440-yard drive up a hill on 9 to make a hole-in-one. Second of all, the red 1 there signifies that he made bogey and dropped to 1 under. And it's just stuff like that. You're like, maybe we do need to explain the cut on every Full Swing episode of Netflix.
So by this guy's logic, the red 1, he's going to be really surprised when, he pars the next 3 holes and stays at red 1, red 1, red 1. He's going to think he made 3 aces in a row.
And Scheffler made 7 and 18.
That was my thought, Greg, was like, so if you think that, then you also must think Scheffler made a 7 on 1 or an 8 on 1, a 7 on 2, or whatever. I can't remember what the numbers were. Like it was just so illogical.
Yeah, it's great. We've got a lot more to talk about. We will continue this conversation, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
We need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
And we're back. The tour currently has a Scottie Scheffler problem. The tour in the future might have a Ludvig Aberg problem because he is sick. And the last 2 days have been dominated by Ludvig. He had the round of the day yesterday. And then he had one of only 3-4 rounds under par, something like that, on Saturday. Greg, this is a very, very special kid.
He is. I have to give Patrick credit here because he came up with the perfect nickname. It's Ludvig AI. But this is just automatic. But at the same time, it's not robotic like the way that Bryson appears. It's beautiful to watch. His routine, the way he gets into the ball, he is lock, load, and shoot it so quickly. As soon as he gets over the ball, he pulls the trigger. The routine is the same over and over and over again. And his touch on the greens is really good too. I mean, he made a mistake at 15, ended up making bogey there, and he was chipping from just long of the green. And his chip didn't get on the green, but it is half a bounce away from being stone dead, making a birdie there. So I just watched this kid play. And I'm blown away in every aspect. He's just so fun to watch. And for his first Masters, he's 3 back. He's in the second to last group. It's unbelievable stuff. And yes, he is going to be an issue for the tour in weeks and years to come.
Yeah, it's only 3 shots back now. The guys he has to go through are big boys, but it is not inconceivable that things fall in the direction of Ludvig. The other thing, KP, and I think it's maybe it's a Padraig Harrington quote. There's this the innocence versus experience thing. He is unencumbered by scar tissue, right? Greg talks about how he just gets up there and pulls the trigger. Yeah, because he's got nothing to think about. He's got no bad experiences that make him waggle 18 times. He is just like fresh as a daisy, perfect and beautiful.
He might be the beautiful boy. He's so just regal and he doesn't get rattled. His swing is perfect. He's he's extraordinary. And I think two things on Ludvig. One, I do believe the quote that you said. I think we see it in guys like, I mean, think about Spieth, the arc of Spieth's career. You know, he was like that when he was 21, and now he is very much not like that, right? And I think we've seen it off and on with somebody like Morikawa as well. But I think the second point, and I'm curious about if you've run the numbers on this, Rick, but the last 2 days have to be the two hardest days of the year on the PGA Tour. Maybe a Bay Hill in there, maybe a Rib. I don't. Maybe a CPC Sawgrass. I don't know, but they got to be up there. And Ludvig is 5 under, and I think he has the best score over the last 2 days. And I think that I compared him on HQ the other day to Cade Cunningham when he was at Oklahoma State college basketball. He was almost too good and too smart and too intuitive. Like, he would throw passes to where guys like didn't run to the spot. Caitlin Clark does this too. And he became better, I think, when he went to the NBA, because guys are smarter, they're faster, they're like he became better because the competition was like everybody rose like to his level. And I almost feel like that about Ludvig. Like, he almost becomes better when it's the Masters than at a place like, I don't know, the Sony Open or the American Express or whatever, because major championship conditions play into the best. I mean, look at this board. Look at the hitters on this board. It's like you have to be a flusher to be on this board. And he's one of the best right now. Maybe he's who we thought Cantlay was going to be at major championships.
This is his first major ever. There have been 6 other golfers who have won in their very first major championship ever. Between the two big brains on YouTube, we should be able to get most of these. What do we got?
Yeah, I pulled this from my article, so right. I should sit it out.
Let's get Greg.
I can give you Keegan.
Yes, number 1 and the most recent. 2011 PGA.
2011 PGA, that's right. 2003 Ben Curtis.
Bang, that's the second most recent. The Open, 2003.
I'll help because it's really hard. I think Francis Ouimet was one.
1913. Yeah, so there's like basically 100-year gap. So then Francis Ouimet 1913 U.S. Open at Brookline.
Yeah, it's like old Tom Morris one.
Those are the last. Those are the 3.
Yeah,
after 1900.
yeah. Well, I saw your tweet, and then I saw Justin Ray tweeted since 1900, and I didn't even look at the dates on yours. I was like, oh, the other 3 were before 1900.
Yeah. So the other 3 are Fred Hurd, 1898 U.S. Open. I'm sure we all remember
obviously.
That. Horace Rawlins, 1895 U.S. Open, and then Willie Park Sr., 1860 Open, which I think was the first major. So someone had to win the very first major ever played as their first major.
1895 had to be the first U.S. Open. Newport?
I believe that's right.
I think it was. So like the little cheat ones there, but yeah. That's
really it's almost like. Oh, go ahead.
It's 3 guys.
I was gonna say it's really 2 guys. I mean, so the Ouimet thing, I don't know. It might have been a lot of plumbers and firemen and stuff like that.
Well, he was an am. He was a farmer, or he was a shop boy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's similar to the Masters record. Like 3 guys have won their first Masters. And one is Horton Smith,
right?
The first Masters. One is Gene Sarazen, the second Masters.
I think it's I thought it was Craig Wood.
I thought it was Sarazen too, because I just saw this.
Yeah, it might be
Sarazen. It's Sarazen in 1935.
And then Fuzzy Zeller's the third, right?
In 79. So I kind of look at that like there's one.
Yeah.
There's really one.
Paul says, didn't he live across the street? Referring to Francis Ouimet. Yes, you can visit his house. So they lit it up in Brookline for last year, or was that last year or 2 years?
No, 22.
Oh my God, we're flying here. And it was cool. You could go visit it. His like room like overlooks the course or whatever. It's pretty sick. Next up, Maximus Homa, who, gentlemen, has not made a birdie since the 4th hole on Friday. That was round 2. Despite that, he is just a mere 2 shots off the lead because he has only made 2 bogeys since then. That is a lot of pars, KP, and Homa is proving that this week par is a very good score.
Yeah, I think it's easy to look at this card and criticize it, but I mean, 73 is good. You know, I think the one thing is you if you're Max, you got to maybe take advantage of the par fives. But man, if you can take advantage of the par fives and just play par golf everywhere else, you're vibing, you're in it, you're doing great. So I don't know. He's been, for me, the quote of the week. He said some really good quotes. He talked about today just kind of leaning into feeling uncomfortable and feeling pressure. He's like, I felt it all day and I still hit good shots. I'm just trying to accept that that's how I'm going to feel. And I think that's such a healthy, like, good. It's like this week he has sounded a lot like Scottie Scheffler. Now, I don't know if he has the whatever to go out on the moxie or whatever you want to call it to go out on Sunday and beat Scottie Scheffler in a massive moment, but he's at least talking in the right direction, which I think is sometimes half the battle.
Here's my favorite question and answer. So he was asked, you haven't really been in the mix in majors. You're just off the course. You're just off the course for the round. Can you speak to what you'll do tonight and just how stoked you are about being here tomorrow? That was somebody from the West Coast asked that question. He said, yeah, I came here with gratitude and appreciation that I get to do it. I'm happy I get to do it tomorrow. I'm going to remind myself I'm a dog and I'm ready for this moment. That's pretty sick, Greg. Yeah.
And look, he's got a little more ability to be a dog. Like, he's a really good hitter, to use your term there, Kyle. And that's why he belongs on this leaderboard. But the dog in him is when he leaves himself in a terrible spot at number 1 and gets it up and down. When he hits it long of the green at number 4 and somehow gets that up and down. When he misses the green at 10, gets it up and down. 18, misses the green, gets it up and down. Those are the kind of things that keep you in the tournament. And then all of a sudden on Sunday, a couple putts go, and you have put a round together like Collin Morikawa did today, and some sparks fly, and all of a sudden you're in the mix. But without that dog, to use his term, without that ability to grind, this doesn't happen. And this turns into a round of 76 in a hurry. And it doesn't. And the same thing was true yesterday. So while he's, and in round 1, I mean, his short game in round 1 was so good. Round 2 was really a iron play day. He had a ton of greens in round 2. But what Max Homa has done for the last 8 months is that short game has improved. And it has changed the answer from a guy that's not ready to win, that doesn't have the game to win a major, to a guy that very much does.
Speaking of sparks flying from Collin Morikawa, how about this finish to round 2 and this start to round 3? He made 3 birdies in his final 6 holes on Friday and birdied each of his first 3 holes on Saturday. He flies up the leaderboard. He had a couple of very clutch par saves coming in, KP. He played his final 9 holes all at even par, made par on every single one of them, his final 10 holes, excuse me. And now, when the story coming in was, can Rory complete the career Grand Slam? Collin Morikawa is 18 holes away from being 72 holes away from the career Grand Slam.
Yeah, that's I don't know which one's farther, right? Like they're both pretty far. But I messed this up earlier. The group that he's trying to join, though, I said this on HQ. I think of his PGA as being a U.S. Open. And I think the reason is because I think of him as a great U.S. Open player. I don't know if that's true of a modern U.S. Open, because they've kind of started to change the way that they set up U.S. Opens a little bit. But golfers to win a PGA, which he's won, an Open, which he's won, and a Masters, which he could win tomorrow. Tiger, he did it 3 times. Jack, he did it 3 times. Sam Snead, Gene Sarazen, and Gary Player did it twice. Phil Mickelson and Ben Hogan. So that is the That's the company that Collin Morikawa is trying to join. I conflated that with Masters of U.S. Open and a British Open, but that's the actual list. And Greg, it's weird because I was not high on him coming into the week. He's played well at Augusta National, right? But between the wind and his game this year, it just did not seem like a Collin Morikawa week. And now he's about to do something. I mean, he's on the verge of doing something that's pretty historic. And I didn't see it coming at all. Now, I will say the iron play has been bad this year, and the pressure of Sunday could illuminate that. It could, like shine a light on what his issues have been. But man, I was really impressed with what he's done over the last couple of days.
He would be, to add a little more history to tomorrow, he would be the fewest major attempts to 3 majors since Tom Watson in 1977 at Turnberry, and the fewest major starts to get to 3 legs of the career Grand Slam since Jack Nicklaus in the 1963 PGA. It's just his 17th major.
I was going to say, I was going to confirm this was, I couldn't remember if it was 16 or 17.
Yeah, it was 17th. And he puts himself in the final group with this round today, this performance today, which is huge at the Masters. I mean, in the last 10 years, every winner except one, well, I mean, according to Kyle, every winner in the last 10 years has come out of the final group. Danny Willett's the only one who hasn't in 2016. And in the last 33 years, it never happened. Right. So, yeah, 10 of the last 10. 28 of the last 33 major Masters champions have come from the final group. 28 of 33. I mean, that goes back to like 1990. It's unbelievable. So the guys that haven't, that came from the not final group was Danny Willett, Charles Schwartzel, which is the Rory year where there's a meltdown, Bubba Watson in 2012, which is a unbelievable playoff that he has to win in. Adam Scott, who wins in a playoff against Angel Cabrera, who was in the final group, and Zach Johnson. And that's it. Everybody else has been in the final group. So I do think that was a huge round for Collin Morikawa to really have a realistic chance at making all that history come true.
The man that stands between Collin Morikawa and history is named Scottie Scheffler. He's the number 1 player in the world. He's 1 shot clear of the rest of the field, but it didn't feel like that all afternoon because KP, they had him. They had him on the ropes. The 10th hole, he makes a pretty ugly double, which included missing a very short putt for bogey. He then followed that up immediately with another bogey on 11. And despite what the guy in the crowd told me, he did not make a double on 15, but he did eagle 13. But before that, I mean, they had him. The Nicolai was in the lead. Collin was surging. Bryson was playing his best. Homa was hanging tough. And the number 1 player in the world just coughed up 3 shots over 2 holes. This was the chance.
It reminds me of this Mark Cram. I think the guy's name was Mark Cram. He went to Ollie Frazier 3, the throw in Manila. And he wrote my favorite gamer of all time for Sports Illustrated. And he has this great line about Joe Frazier where he says, there's always a moment in every Frazier fight where you think that you have him, and then you realize that you have him not. And that's what Scottie felt like on Saturday. Was, he goes 6-5, and then he's got a 5-footer on 12 for another bogey. And I was standing next to LKD, Luke Kerdanian of Golf Digest, and he looked at me. He's like, man. And it's really hard to see 12 from like just being out there. It's so far away. You can't really. The putt looked longer than 5 feet from where we were standing. But he looked at me. He's like, "This feels like sort of monumental for the tournament." And I agreed with him. And he buries it. And then he gets to 13, and obviously reaches the green. I couldn't tell I was right next to him as he hit it. I couldn't tell where it was on the green. I kind of started walking up. I had to get back and do some writing. As I'm walking, I hear the roar, and you're like, wow, Scottie just made a 3. And he plays the last 7 in 3 under. And on the day they were playing at least 2 over, I think close to 2.5 over, Rick. And he's a bad dude. I mean, we talked about this on HQ. Not only is he the best iron player in the world, the best ball striker in the world, the best tee to green in the world, the best, I think, sort of course manager in the world, emotionally and mentally. I think he's among the best in the world, but he loves the fight. Like we talked about Xander earlier. I don't know if Xander loves the fight, right? Like I think he just sort of like tiptoes around and puts together these T5s. Like Scottie loves getting hit in the face because he's going to hit you back. And I loved watching that on Saturday. I thought it was awesome. I think he's freaking competitive. And I think we've been talking about it all week, Rick, and we might be wrong, but I think he is in the middle of something that we're not truly understanding right now. And I think he's going to win a bunch over the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, we might. You look back in 10 years and this might be, remember when Scottie won, Masters 2 of X, or, it statistically, it's kind of where we're at. And Greg, I think some of the fist pumps that we got from him on that second 9 were some of the biggest fist pumps I've ever seen from Scottie Scheffler. He's not like a hugely emotional guy. And now he is 18 away from writing his name in the history books once more.
There's a couple different ways to look at this round. And I tend to lean towards the positive, but there wasn't really that Scottie Scheffler, like the Scottie Scheffler iron play has not been his typical iron play so far this week. Vijay Singh is hitting more greens than him. They may have hit the same number of greens after 3 rounds, but Vijay hit more greens through 2, which is just incredible. And I bring that up because I know you'd love to compare him to Vijay, Kyle. But the iron play hasn't been great yet. He chips in at 1. He drives it into trouble at 3, uncharacteristic for him. Makes a long putt, also uncharacteristic. He makes a mental error at 10. That's no question a mental error. Going long of that green is a big no-no. There's a big red X in every caddy's yardage book on that hole, and he hits it there. Misses a very makeable one at 11, but a bogey there is understandable. It's like the moments for Scottie today were big putts. And I flip this to the positive side where, okay, we know he's the best ball striker in the world who's not striking at his best. And yet he's leading the tournament, and he's leaning on, specifically today, short game and putting. He's leading the field this week in strokes gained tee to green. But that's coming largely from his around the green performance. He's 25th in strokes gained approach this week, and he's leading going into the final round. I take that as a massive positive, but it could give you cause for concern.
I'm not concerned.
No,
I'm not either. You just get the sense, like with those fist pumps, you get the sense he's going to do what it takes.
Yep.
This is a weird. Go ahead.
We talked about it, Rick, on the way out. You're right in the sense that, like, there's some luck there, right? The chipping in on 1, the 30-footer on 13, like that's unusual, but also like he's doing it. I don't know. It's hard to square those things, where it's like, okay, statistically it's luck, also it's Scottie, and this is just kind of what he does. I mean, I told Rick this. I walked past a guy on 1 or on 18 as they put the number up on the board that showed that he made an eagle on 13, and the guy was like, that's unbelievable. What did I say that he said, Rick?
He said, "That's crazy," or something.
That's
like that.
crazy. And I was like, I don't know. I think it's just Scottie. Like, I think it's just what it is, you know? So I don't disagree, but I also don't want to reduce him to, and I'm not saying this is what you're doing, but I think sometimes it's easy for all of us to reduce it to spreadsheet golf. And it's like, I don't know, he just kind of, like what you're saying, he just kind of gets it done. Like he just kind of does what's necessary.
Yeah, like there are weeks where he doesn't make any mistakes and wins. There's a week like Houston where he makes some mistakes and loses. He's 5 feet away from a playoff. And there's weeks like this where he missed a short putt at 8 today. I mean, that was like 7 feet, but he missed a really short putt at number 10. He missed a short putt at 5 earlier in the week. He hit it into the tributary to Rays Creek twice at number 13. Hits it long of a back left hole location at 10. These are a number of mistakes, and he goes into the final round leading. And that's because he's able, capable, willing to do what it takes to be in that position. Which I think it's so cool. The competitiveness is awesome. It's outstanding.
Here's something weird I just noticed. If he were to win tomorrow on April 14th, that would be the latest win in the calendar of his career. All of his wins are February, March, April. April 10th is his latest win of the year.
Yeah, that's going to end. That's going to end this year.
He's going to get one.
Whether it's tomorrow or not, there's more coming this year.
And it also, I have to overlook the hero to make that. So it has to be official.
You should.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see the betting favorites, Josh. We'll do the betting favorites.
Heroes harder to win than the American Express. I'll say that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And then we'll go through some of these questions that Josh has been stockpiling. Scottie Scheffler, oh boy, is the favorite.
Give me Ludvig. Give me all of that.
Minus 120 for old Scottie. Collin, 3.5 to 1. Max 7 to 1. Ludvig 9 to 1. Bryson 22. Xander 35. Everybody else triple digits or longer. KP, you're in on Ludi.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, is he going to win? Probably not. But I like him at 9 to 1. Can't you just see him in that jacket, just gallivanting about the Scandinavian countries, like a king, like a Viking king.
According to Patrick, he'd be going back to Texas.
According to Patrick, he'd be going back to the Matrix.
Yeah, that's true.
He'd look sick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we talk enough about how weird the culture differentiation is between Sweden and Lubbock.
Sweden to Lubbock, Oslo to Stillwater, which is more different.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's not like it. Whatever the difference is, it's the same as each other.
All right, Josh, let's just fire questions. Let's see what happens here. Just to go through them. Is Cantlay's yellow box already on his wiki page? That is from one Patrick McDonald. I out of the four of us, I would think that Patrick is the most likely to be the one who edits Wikipedia pages out of this group.
I've never done it, but
I got to confess something that my friends make fun of me for.
Okay.
I donate money to Wikipedia.
Oh, I wouldn't make fun of you for that.
Yeah, I use it every day. Like I want it to continue to exist.
I think that's good.
It's
I
not
think
very.
Donate to the cause.
It's not a lot of money, but
you give them like the $3 that they ask for, right? And that's what they always say. They're always like, if everybody gave $3, we wouldn't have to show this. We wouldn't have to show this anymore.
I mean, I give them a little more than that, but it's not a ton more.
I thought you were going to confess that you were like I thought you were either going to say you're a prolific Wikipedia editor or that you're like a highly rated Google Maps reviewer or something like that?
Well, the real thing is to get in here when you're doing trivia and try to slide some misinformation in there.
Skew the Wikipedia.
It would work.
Yeah.
It would work.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, go. Fire. Good day, all. Good day. I assume the Aussies, Davis and Smith, are too far back. Top 5 chance? Yeah, Cam Davis is very sad. He also had a mini meltdown. And then Cam Smith has just been lurking in like T8 since every time I check on him, he's T8.
Yeah.
Just making pars.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Cam Smith can make a move. He's my one and done play this week. So that'd be nice. But yeah, they're too far back.
Too far back. Is Xander's lack of bogeys because he plays it too safe? Will he have to take chances to win a major? That might be the opposite. That's the thing, KP. I actually think the playing it safe thing should be better at majors.
I don't know. Like, I haven't watched enough of him this week to have a real opinion on this. I think generally he is. I think of him a little bit like I think about Ricky Fowler, where great player. Obviously, the stats are just amazing, but it's like, thanks. I did not need that.
My headphones are too loud. That scared the crap out of me.
He doesn't understand, or he doesn't have a sense of like the moment. Like Scottie on 13 today, have a sense of the freaking moment, right? Like, go win the Masters. And Xander, and I think this about Ricky, they don't have that. It's not even a real thing. It's just like made up. I know it doesn't make any sense, but he just doesn't have it. And you watch him and you're like, I get it. Like, he hits great shots and the numbers are good and he's a great putter and the chipping's good and he doesn't miss fairways, but he doesn't have it. I don't know how else to say that.
I don't think you can say generally that there's a strategy that works in majors. It depends on the major, even Masters. It depends on the course setup, depends on the year. And to Kyle's point, you have to understand when to go and when to stay. And there's a balance between those two that is very difficult to walk. Scottie Scheffler walks it. And for the most part, he walks it all the time. And that's why he's always in the mix in these tournaments. But you just have to have that sense, like you said, Kyle, of, hey, this is a shot I need to go make a birdie right now. You know, I have the number. And I don't think Scottie's looking at it like, okay, I made a double, I made a bogey, 3 back. Okay, I need to make an eagle here. I think he hits his tee shot at 13 and says, okay, I need to hit this shot here. This is the spot on the green. He's got a 30-footer. He says, all right, it's time to step up and make a play. And he does. You know, but you're walking a very fine line between aggressive and conservative.
He also, I think it's worth pointing out, like, he gives himself, Scottie's had that putt before and not made it, but he gives himself a lot of opportunities to make that putt.
Spreadsheet golf.
I actually own the domain spreadsheetgolf.com, so I appreciate all the publicity tonight. Only 10 rounds of sub 69 golf all week. What does the tourney winner shoot on Sunday? So this kind of actually depends on who you think is going to win.
Well, I said 8 under would win it. So what is Scottie at? 7, 6, 7?
He's at 6.
7. 7.
So
yeah.
I love it, by the way, whenever you have one shot set, like when there's somebody just in first, just in second. It's very satisfying to me.
It's very satisfying.
It's organized.
Yeah, it is. It's like a to-do list. I think Scottie shoots.
It's like
he wins it.
List. It's like a to-do list. It's such a funny thing to say.
It is. I think he shoots 70. I think he shoots 70 and wins.
I'll take 69. Also Scottie.
10 under.
It's supposed to be hot tomorrow. Yeah, I think 70 gets it done. 70 gets it done. I'll take
Not nine's the number. 9 wins.
Yeah, there's also a chance. I mean, see, he could 4-putt and like. God, I can't believe he 4-putt. I still want to say. What does it say? Can we get? Okay, so this is what each guy shoots to win. So if Scottie shoots a 70, he wins. Do we agree?
Yes.
So what would Morikawa have to shoot to win? Like 67.
67. Morikawa shoots 67, he wins.
So Homa would have to shoot like 66.
66, yeah.
Go for it.
It's very organized. You could just
So
What is
have to shoot 65. So
you could just
What is
drag down in the
64?
spreadsheet at 5.
what does Rory have to shoot?
Rory would have to shoot. Let's see. Rory is at 3 over, so he's 10 back. So assuming that Scottie shoots a 70, Rory to get into a playoff has to shoot a 12 under 60. He has to break the course record by multiple strokes to get to a playoff, and then he has to win the playoff.
59 wins outright.
So if he goes out in 28, KP, we can get excited.
Can you imagine if he shot 60 and Scottie shot 68 to beat him?
All right, next. What else we got? That might be it, based on the lack of comments that are popping up. Okay, there was one more, or there's like 2 more I wanted to hit real quick. So okay, let's assume you're Scottie Scheffler and your wife is apparently very close to giving birth. If you were on the putting green 2 minutes before your tee time, and Ted Scott got the call tomorrow, would you leave?
Yeah, so I thought about this for a long time today, Rick. I legitimately was thinking about this. I've got 4 kids. I love them all. They're great. So you're saying if you're Scottie Scheffler?
I'm saying if you just happen to be a Scottie Scheffler situation.
So you don't.
No, it's you and your wife. It's you and Jen.
So I don't have a green jacket.
You do not. You have 0 green jackets and 4 children.
Okay. Regardless, either way, I have a pretty strong opinion on this.
Okay.
I would not leave.
Okay.
I would stay. 100%. Birth is. I can't believe I'm talking about this publicly. It's great. It's incredible. It's extraordinary. Greg can tell you, but like I care more about being in my kid's life for the next 10,000 days than like just one day. And that winning the Masters is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like I would not leave for the birth of my child.
Greg, are you leaving or are you staying?
Let me put it to you this way. If I'm Ted Scott and that phone is off.
Teddy sabotage.
Yeah. Ted's phone died. Okay. There's nothing. I'm sorry. I'm there is no way. No way. And quite frankly, I'd like to think that my wife would say I'd like to think my wife wouldn't even call.
Yeah, there's no way I'm leaving either. Okay, like just absolutely 0 way. 2 quick ones. Where does Augusta rank in host cities? This is kind of weird because it's not like a huge town, but it's very well organized, right? Like the city feels like it exists only because the Masters is here. So there's like signs for like golf park. Like the whole ecosystem is designed for this. And because they come back every year, it's a pretty well-oiled machine. I imagine that when you're going to a different city all the time, it would be a lot more difficult to get it right. But like we were talking, Greg, we were talking to like the shuttle drivers and like people, like they live like 3 streets over from the golf course and they love this every year. So it is a pretty well-oiled machine.
Yeah. I can't even really comment on it. Maybe it's because it's so well oiled. And I also haven't spent multiple days at the Masters before. I've been for one day. And so I don't really know what the hotel situation is like. But I know that it's extremely user friendly in every situation, and they're going to do it the right way. So probably, like, is it the best? Are there the best restaurants there? I would doubt it. But it's probably the best run system of any host site you can find.
Yeah, it's just the repetitiveness of it. And somebody asked earlier, are Kyle and Rick in the same hotel? Yes, we are. We're just in different rooms on different floors. Yeah, I'm on floor above. All right.
Hold on, there's one more comment I want to address.
What is it?
Okay. I just group texted some friends, and my wife is on the text, and I gave her the scenario that we're talking about. I'll address this question in a second. And my wife said, just finish the Masters, but we also have 4 kids, so you had a lot more chances. So kind of an unfair comp there. Throw that comment back up. Why is everyone thinking Scottie is so invincible with just a 1-shot lead? Rick, I feel exasperated at this point. He's not invincible. He could lose the Masters tomorrow, absolutely. But I think that Scottie is actually historically good, and if he is, then he's going to win a handful, a lot of majors, a lot being like 4 or more. And I just don't think I think people are viewing him in the same bucket as like Morikawa and Homa, and I don't think he's in that bucket. I think he's in like a way, way, way different bucket. And I don't know. That's just how I feel about him.
Yeah, he's got like 90% invincibility, and these other guys are walking around with like 25%.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
Or less.
Or less. All right. Anything else? We're 24. When we do this pod tomorrow, we will know who the latest Masters champion is. So,
It's kind of sad.
So get it all out now. It's kind of sad. It is kind of sad.
It's like it's over. We already know who's going to win. Just kidding.
Well, it's sad because when it is over, it's now 365 days away.
Yeah. Just like there's such a lead up to this event, and it's been so great. And
it's like a 6-month lead up because you think about it once the Open's over.
Yeah. Maybe even before that, depending on who's doing what. It comes up so quick and it ends so quick, and it's so worth it. It's just been awesome. So I love this tournament. I can't wait to watch the final round.
It's the best.
It's the best. We'll be back on Sunday night to break it all down. Big thanks to producer Josh, does all the hard work behind the scenes. Greg DuCharme, available at The Real GFD. Kyle Porter, available at Kyle Porter CBS. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.